Hey everyone, Varun Mahotra over here. Today I'm going to be doing another episode of my Stream of Consciousness series. Essentially what I'm going to be talking about today is injuries in Jiu-Jitsu and how to prevent them. So a lot of people, essentially, like, you hear the basic shit around injuries. You hear the do your prehab, rehab, fucking warm up, do your strength and conditioning, all that shit. We've heard of the basic thing of like, don't jump on people's knees, essentially, like the, what do you call it, the scissor takedown and jumping close guard. We've heard of things like this, and these are all very basic understandings that we all have. One thing I want to cover today is not necessarily, it is more advanced, but it's more important, I would say. Outside of those basic things, it's just like, one of the things that's really important with jiu-jitsu in terms of not getting injured is something I like to call seeing the path. So essentially, what happens a lot in jiu-jitsu is that, like, especially where hits and shit come from, where it's like someone's fucking foot comes into your face and you're just like, oh fuck, and now you got a chipped tooth and shit like that. Or just like someone does some stupid shit where they flop their body in some retarded way, and then they end up like hurting your arm or something like that. Essentially, how we avoid these things is what I talked about 3 seconds ago, seeing the path, is that essentially in jiu-jitsu is that when you're doing a movement, you have to be able to visualize the path in which your body is at right now and where it's going to be when you finish the move. So it's like, okay, so let's say I'm doing a bullfighter and I move my arms this particular way. When you move this particular way, a lot of the times the movement doesn't just break right there. A lot of the times there's like a little bit of a lag time after you stop, and you've got to know that distance to measure it. And then where this also comes into is that you don't just measure your movement, but you also have to measure the movement of your opponent's move. So you almost got to visualize in the moment how far their body is going to move when they're doing their thing, and you're doing like real-time calculations in your head. And then this also comes into things like when you're rolling on the mat and there's training partners to your side, you got to know how far like the lag time is from when you stop your movement to where the movement actually ends up, and see if that's going to actually bump into training partners or bump into a wall or some shit like that. And that's a very like underrated thing that people don't focus on. That's essentially the idea. So yeah, you got to be able to visualize the path in which in which your movement is going to start and stop, and how your opponent's movement interacts with you. So it's like you're doing a particular move and you can notice the guy, you get an intuition or a feeling, or you see the guy do something in particular, and you got to know where the path of their body is going to end up, and you got to know where the path of their body is going like to in the moment. So it's like, say, something I say to people all the time is that a movement isn't just point A to point B. It's A, A.1, A.2, A.3, A.4, A.5, A.6, A.7, and so on and so forth. What you're doing there is that you got to know where you are in each part of the movement rather than just the first and end stages or just the mid stage. So it's like, okay, so you got to know where you are in these individual parts of the movement, and this is actually how you're going to prevent injuries, and honestly how you're going to get better at jiu-jitsu too, because you want to be like aware of every single part of the motion that you're doing, because then you're going to have the most control, and you're going to actually essentially know what technique you're doing, rather than just you're thinking you're doing a bullfighter, but you're doing this weird amalgamation of 4 different things, and it's actually not really what you're trying to do. Or maybe you learn that as you're learning these little incremental bits of the technique, that that you're not actually doing what you're trying to do, or you're coming across something that you didn't even know that you're doing, and you're actually doing pretty well. So that's a situation that can happen. So yeah, essentially, just when you're doing your moves to prevent injuries, you're just going to make sure that nothing is running into your body in a particular way, and you're not moving your body in a particular way that's going to lead you to get injured. That means hyperextension, your knee buckling in, your fucking head getting turned in the wrong direction. Just like if you do that, you know how long it takes for your head to turn before you get injured. You know, if it goes past a certain point, it's going to end up putting you out of jiu-jitsu. So you just got to know that. So let's say, so dodging like someone's foot coming towards your face in jiu-jitsu, you got to be able to like swivel your head at times, and it's almost like you're dodging punches. Okay, and just like, but it's not just that. It's like you're moving your body so that, and you know that if your partner's going to get injured doing a particular motion, if they go too long, you can either stop them in the moment and be like, hey bro, don't do that, you're gonna fucking hurt yourself. Or you can just move your body out of the way so that they don't get injured, and then you can continue the round. So that's just a very important thing. So see the path. That's my main thing here. See the path. know where you are in each incremental part of the movement. Is not just point A to P or point A to the halfway movement and then B. It's 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, 8.4, 8.5, and so on and so forth. Know where you are, and you want to know where you're traveling the whole way of that movement, and then the additional part. That's how you don't get yourself injured, and how you don't get how to make sure your opponent doesn't injure you is that you've got to visualize their movement and their path as well. And then that way you can kind of take that into account, and then honestly you can take advantage of their movement too. If you're good at jiu-jitsu, you can actually just, you know that they're going to do something in particular, you can counter it, or you can take the early steps and then do an early defense or something like that. That's essentially what I'm getting at here. And then so yeah, that's essentially it. There's nothing else really that like pops into mind when I say this. Just know the incremental parts of the movement where your body is going, and know the lag time at the end of it. So you go to do a particular move, and you know that you tend to stumble a little bit at the end of it. Be aware of that space. That can honestly help your jiu-jitsu too. So let's say you almost like consciously lose balance to hit a particular move. You don't necessarily want that to happen, because that means there's like you have less control of your body, but know where the less control of your body ends up. Okay, so then it actually almost becomes a controlled movement at that stage. And then know where your opponent is, and know where their lag time is going to be, or stop their movements before they hit the lag time or whatever it is. So yeah, that's the basic premise of not getting injured in jiu-jitsu the easy way. It's mentally hard. It's mentally, you got to be very concentrated. And honestly, if you're focused on this, you're going to have more focus in your rounds, because you're going to be actually more aware of what's going on. But yeah, that's the main thing. And then yeah, that's it. So see the path, know the lag time, see both people's paths, and then yeah, just carry on doing jiu-jitsu. Know the limits of your body, so that when your body goes in a certain direction, you know how far it can go before you get injured, okay, or before you tweak something. So yeah, that's essentially it. Thank you for listening. Follow me on Instagram at ShortThickBoy if you're watching this on YouTube, and I appreciate it. Thank you.